If I think about the ways you make me smile, I'd be sitting here and smiling for a while. Although I know I make you cry sometimes, your happiness is ever on my mind. I cannot repay for everything you've done, but my love for you burns brighter than the sun. No matter where my feet and mind may go, my heart will lead to you and you alone. Diana, Diana, I'll be holding on to you forevermore. Diana, Diana, may the blessings of God never leave your shore. A paradise so wondrous to behold. A work of art, your heart is gleaming gold. They sail the waters, soar above the trees, to find the gem between the mountains and seas. Your children know we try though we may fall. We stand united now to heed your call. Our fathers fought the fight for liberty. Forever I'll defend Guyana free. Guyana, Guyana, I'll be holding on to you forevermore.
Welcome to Tots and Teens in Focus. I'm your host, Patricia Trim. Welcome you to another edition of Tots and Teens in Focus. Today, I have a very special guest, and she's no other than Dr. Rosalind October. Dr. Rosalind October is well known in the community for her work and her contribution to organization and to be involved in community projects for young people and the community. Dr. Rose, I know you're a special person. You're not a tot or a teen, but you're just right for the occasion because you look just like a teenager. So welcome once again to our Tots and Teens in Focus for the community, youths of the community, and how can the community help our youths? I know I'll be asking you a lot of questions, and I know you have all the answers for me. Welcome once again.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Ms. Trim. And I hope I have the answers for you. No, we'll see. But it's a pleasure being on Tots and Teens in Focus with you. My pleasure.
As a community, organizer, a host of your own show, arts, culture, and things. I hope I got the name right.
Something in between. You got it almost right. Yes. Yeah.
And now tell us something about yourself, because we have you down as woman of great esteem. And to be a woman of great esteem, you have to have under so many umbrellas and so many hands in everything that you're doing.
Oh, that's a loaded question and quite a big hat to wear. I'm into my community, as you mentioned. I'm not just a part of the Guyanese community, but would like to think that I'm part of the broader community in respect to, especially as it leans into the arts and culture. I am a believer in us being stronger as a group and not as an individual. And it is from that standpoint that I see the importance of getting together with other communities that are not just of Guyanese initiatives and other communities and other organizations. So I try to spread my wings in terms of being connected, because I consider myself a lifelong learner. And I always say that we are more similar than different. Hence the importance of us getting together despite our country of origin and really bringing light to the world through the community work that we do.
Well, I know that you did not just get here like this, because you had some kind of childhood backgrounds, childhood experience, going to school. Give us some more information about yourself, Dr. Rose.
So I grew up attending Catholic school, so to speak, as a child. I went to St. Anne's Orphanage. St. Anne's Nursery, which was under St. Anne's Orphanage on Thomas Street in Georgetown, Guyana. And from St. Anne's Nursery, I went over to St. Angela's Roman Catholic School. I mean, it was literally a walk across the lawn, so to speak. There was a lawn that functioned as a playground and everything else that separated the two schools. And I moved from the kindergarten school, the nursery school of St. Anne's to St. Angela's. And it was from there that I got exposed to the arts, specifically dancing. And every time I think of that, I have to give credit to one of my childhood teachers with whom I am still connected, Teacher Stella Walcott, who has been responsible for my dance life, my dance career, my career in the arts. She exposed me to dance at a very tender age and took me over to the National School of Dance in the time when Lavinia Williams was starting up that school. As a matter of fact, Teacher Stella was one of the teachers in the first cohorts of the dance teachers course at the Ghana National School of Dance, and part of the evaluation process for the teachers was to do a choreography at their school and then bring the children to showcase their work at the dance school. And that's how I got involved with the dance school. And I literally grew up at the dance school. So even after I left St. Angela's Roman Catholic School and went to Christ Church as a high schooler, I remained connected with Teacher Stellar at St. Angela's. As a matter of fact, I went back a few times and was still dancing with Teacher Stellar while I was going to the National School of Dance, grew up in the National School of Dance, started from the beginners group, intermediate group, advanced group, and then finally the dance company, the National Dance Company of Ghana, where I was featured as a soloist for the many shows that we would have had. I toured extensively with the Ghana National Dance Company also, and I danced until it was time for my migration, late 80s. And once I got here, I had to get into a different swing of things because I heard my parents' voices at the back of my head that education is key. And that once you have your education, nobody can take that away from you. When I was migrating, I know that the one thing I had to do was go to college. Go to college and do what I didn't know, but I know I had to go to college. So I landed at the Borough of Manhattan Community College. After it was difficult to find work as a new immigrant coming to this country. Yes, everybody has an immigrant story. And the similarity about the immigrant story is that when you go for interviews, you're asked, what's your experience? And because you have none, it's like, I don't have, when is somebody going to give me a break? I know many people can identify with that. So I didn't wait for a job for too long. After a few months, I decided to get into school, and I did my associate degree at the Borough of Manhattan Community College, and that's in human services. Then there's a quick funny story about that though. I thought I wanted to do dance when I got to BMCC, but there was a lot of politics involved. And I quickly realized after the first semester that if I waited, I might have been wasting my time. And I remember needing an elective course and asked one of my girlfriends to help me. And she said, oh, take Professor Graciela. She gives easy A's. She teaches Introduction to Human Services. I took Professor Graciela's class, and was so awe-inspired by everything she was saying. And I realized that this is something I wanted to do. So I was able to complete my associate degree in human services. And before I finished there, I remember that Professor Graciela was saying, hey, if you want to continue, she's saying to the class, if you wanted to continue in this field, then you should consider going to Lehman College in the Bronx because they take all of our credits. And that's exactly what I did, because I'd already lost one semester that I thought I would have gotten into the dance program, and that didn't happen. And so it took me 2.5 years to get my associate degree instead of 2 years, sorry. It took me 2.5 years. So I went over to the Bronx at Lehman College and did everything they said. And there was this special professor, Holiday, God rest his soul, he's now deceased. He said, if you keep your GPA at 3.5 or higher, because I registered in the Bachelor of Social Work program at Lehman College, and his advice was, if you keep your GPA at 3.5 or higher, then you might be able to do your master's degree in social work in 1 year. So that's what I did. And I went to Fordham University and did their advanced standing program in 1 year, got my master's degree. I thought right after, and somewhere along the line, I got work. I really worked from humble beginnings because when I was at Lehman College in the Bronx, a friend of one of my brothers was working at Our Lady of Mercy Medical Center in the Bronx, and she was able to get me a part-time position in the laundry. And the supervisor at the time, he was very understanding, and he really embraced youth, and he was an immigrant himself, so he understood the immigrant story. So he was very supportive in making sure that I get additional hours, and I'm trying to get on my own feet. And I was traveling 2 hours to the Bronx from Brooklyn and 2 hours back from the Bronx to Brooklyn. And it was on the train that I was getting my studies done, because once I was done with school and or work, I would interchange depending on the schedule I had. So it was convenient in some ways for me to go to Lehman College in the Bronx, given I had a part-time job in the Bronx. And I tell you, I remember telling myself that once I got my master's degree in social work, I was never going to work another weekend, because I had to work every weekend. That was the other thing.
Mm.
I was never going to work another weekend in my life unless I made that decision. And oh, it was such sweetness once I was done and was able to make that decision. So, I really humbled by my experience. And when I was finished doing my master's degree at Fordham University, the place where I was doing my internship offered me a position, a full-time position. So I went straight into work. As a matter of fact, there was a 2-week break because they didn't have an opening right away, but there was a lot of work put in for me to eventually become employed. And I became a full-time employee, a full-time social worker at that agency, and literally grew up there. I'm forever thankful to that agency, because that particular agency worked with the mandated population. That means individuals who were mandated to substance use disorder. That's what it's called now, no longer substance abuse treatment, but substance use disorder treatment. And they were referred by Department of Probation, New York City Department of Probation, New York State Parole, Bureau of Prisons, Administration of Children's Services. And there were some individuals who, in order to keep their jobs, were referred by the Employee Assistance Program. So I was primarily working with the mandated population who was struggling with substances, substance use disorders. I am credentialed as a master's level counselor, and I have my license as a master's level social worker. And I thought I wanted to continue at Fordham University into their PhD program when I was done with my master's degree, because I went straight through 5.5 years without stopping, full time. And I really couldn't make it, because I guess in some ways I was looking forward to completing this master's degree. And I was reminded the other day when I saw my unofficial transcript from Fordham that, yeah, you did attempted 2 courses at Fordham as a post-grad, and you didn't complete them. But, I always wanted to go for my PhD, and I thought I'd take a break. I thought it was going to be 5 years, 1 year, I thought. Then 5 years went by. And then before you know it, I think I went back after 15 years. And one of the things that I learned, and I would have said to students when I was teaching, because after I left the counseling arena, I got into teaching higher ed, a SUNY institution where I spent 10 and 11 and a half years until the end of 2020. But what I would say to students is, don't stop, because once you start to make money, you forget about all of those aspirations for taking your education forward. And I learned the hard way. So after 15 years, I looked around and realized that something was still missing. And I was still hearing my parents' voices in my head about education is key. So I went for my PhD, and I kept it very quiet because I wanted to make sure that I was able to complete it. Because it becomes burdensome when you share that information and people are looking at you. And I wanted to be fair to myself, and I kept it very quiet. And it was quite a surprise when I announced that I had a PhD. And there weren't too many people who knew. I would literally say a handful of outsiders, with the exception of my family. And completed my PhD in advanced human behavior studies from Capella University in 2016. And by that time, I was already at SUNY teaching, and I finally decided that I wanted to get back to social services. And after 11 and a half years, I left teaching, and now I'm looking for a good fit for me in a social service agency. It's kind of crazy out there now with how COVID has dealt all of us, including agencies, a really hard blow. So that's it in my nutshell to where I am today. I hope that answers
Dr. Rose, as a child growing up, and you know, our program is about tots and teens, and your experience, you know, what was school days like for you? What was culture at home like for you? Besides the dancing, you know, you could see that you were a disciplined person. And I don't know if you are the Octobers from Amsterdam, Pilot Street, if they are related to you.
We are related. We are related. Yes. Yes. My mother is from Sisters Village in Berbice,
Okay.
but I really don't know too many family members. I would make fun because there once was 16 children alive. I was one of 16 children. So I grew up in a very large family.
And what village you from?
I grew up in Georgetown. My father is a Victoria man.
Okay.
My father is from Victoria and my mother is from Sisters Village of Berbice. And they met somewhere in the middle, right? And I'm a product of Mr. Ivor Weir Prince and Miss Rosalind Mahalia October. I'm named after my mother. And growing up in a very large household, it was fun. It was fun most of the time. I would say most of the time because my parents owned a business. So as a child of parents who own a business, you had to hold down some responsibility.
Yeah.
And my father, the irony of my career actually is that my parents owned what we call in Guyana a rum shop. And the irony of where I am in my career is that I am a credentialed substance use disorder counselor. So go figure, right? So, we all had chores. My chore in the mornings was to clean the tables and chairs before I get ready for school. And that was religious. You had to get up like 5:30, I think. Don't think anybody could have been sleeping beyond 5:30. Can't remember, but everybody had a chore, whether it was wiping the tables and the chairs in the restaurant or, washing down the yard or going and buy bread from around the corner at Yip's Bakery on Rob Street, just off of Alexander Street, or going to Tan's Bakery. That was not another chore of mine, going to the bakery to pick up bread every morning. So it was fun. The cultural piece, though, in terms of dancing, because that's how my path started in culture. In terms of dancing, my father, not so much my mother, she was pretty easygoing. My father didn't believe in dancing like most old-time parents. They didn't see the value in that. They saw a real job, as becoming a lawyer, a doctor, a nurse, a teacher. But my father was a downright countryman. And I mean that in every sense of the word, because he was the eldest boy and had to leave school before he got to high school to help work with his mom because my grandmother owned land in the country. So they were big into farming, and that farming led to every weekend bringing produce from Victoria to border market to sell. So my father was really strong on work ethics, and later on, as a man, he was a Poknaka. He and his brothers were big bushmen. They would go and, dig for gold in the interior. So I guess with the very strong work ethic of my father, he didn't see value in dancing. So I would be reprimanded about going to dancing and coming home late. I would get a licking and I would go back again.
Mhm.
Licking and go back again, because that was my escape. I just loved it. And the joke behind all of this is that when I left Christchurch and became a member of the Ghanaian National Dance Company, and we featured a lot. We did a lot of performances.
Your experience there, like touring, you all did a lot of tours
Yes.
or?
Oh yes. Oh yes, we did. We did a lot of tours. But I think my father family embraced my dancing when one day the National Dance Company appeared on the front page of the newspapers. Then he was bragging to all his friends, "You see, this is my daughter, this is my daughter." That's a funny story. But culturally, I mean, I would say for my family's culture, it was really around work. It was really about strong work ethic. And I got the exposure of culture and theater through my school. And I also have to mention that as I grew up in the National School of Dance, like Teacher Stella was part of my life. The late Big Daphne Rogers was also a part. She is another mother I have. I would brag that I have 3 mothers.
And the lady from Haiti?
That was Lavinia Williams. She's the one
Yeah.
who started the dance school.
Okay, yeah. Mhm.
Yeah. But I would brag that I have 3 mothers, my biological mother plus Teacher Stella and the late Daphne Rogers. Yes.
Dr. Rose, you hold a doctorate, as a doctor, what would be your focus or your theology for our young people to be more educated and know who they are and where they come from?
You can't talk about young people and to young people without talking about the caregivers in their lives. I
Okay.
think that it's important for caregivers to pay attention to what the children are saying. And I am from the school of thought back then where my parents would say, children are seen and not heard. And gone are those days. This is a different time. 21st century, World Wide Web, and a lot of the youth are more exposed than we know, but that their parents know. And I think it's very important that parents do not become dream killers, but in some ways listen to their children and find ways to compromise, because I'll bring it back to me and then come back to the question at hand. I think because eventually my parents got to a place where they accepted my involvement in extracurricular activities, so to speak.
Mhm.
I think I got that roundedness that was needed as a person. Because as much as I don't like doing this, I have to tell you, Ms. Trem, I promised to do this interview with you for a long time. As much as I don't like to do this, when I step out in front of a gathering with a microphone in my hand, I'm the most confident person.
Oh, yes.
If I have my way, I would really shy away from that. But again, it's because of my exposure
Yeah.
to culture.
You're
Really.
very professional in that field.
Thank you. So I would say to the parents, you really have to listen to your children, work out compromises, negotiate some, everything might not fly. Okay, we can go here and I can give this. that kind of a thing. And education, I would say, like my parents said to me, because after a while, even if the child goes his or her own way, sooner or later, he or she will realize that, you know what? Oh, I dropped out of high school. It's not the end of the world. I can still go and get my GED.
Return back to education.
You know, return to it, and you can still work, and you can still do part-time college, and you know, it's such a self-fulfilling experience to know that you would have accomplished getting, whether it's your high school diploma, a vocational certificate in a particular trade, or a degree. And let me make it very clear. You don't have to get a degree to be successful or to show that you're intelligent, but it would be a good enhancement for you to think about how much you can push yourself. So, okay, I didn't finish high school, but I went and I got a vocational certificate in mechanic, auto mechanic. It doesn't mean that you can't look for a school that can look at the work that you did as an auto mechanic to get that certificate, to see how many credits you can get to really launch your educational career for a degree. There's so many different ways that can be accomplished, but ultimately, you know, I would say to the youth, you want to stay focused on whatever you've started, complete it, because you don't want to go around the place starting a bunch of projects or getting involved with initiatives and nothing is seen to completion. That sets up that sense of failure and sense of self-worthlessness. So think from an early age what you want to do. I mean, as much as I love dancing, I knew that I wanted to dance, but I also knew that right next to dancing, because of what I heard my parents say about education, that I will be getting an education, whatever that is. And folks who know me know that I have a really good time when I'm having fun, but I can really get down talking about a bunch of different topics. And that's the balance that I would advise youth to aspire to gravitate to, really having that balance, knowing how to have fun and how to be serious at the same time. You know, I'm a believer in working hard and playing hard. I really am.
But from the time I know you, Dr. Rose, you're always involved in some project or some community. I know you were involved in the Miss Guyana talent.
Wow. Miss
Because
Guyana,
that is where I met you.
Guyana pageant. Yeah, that's back in the day. Whew.
Yeah.
That's early 1990.
Yeah, 1992, 93 or 94.
I was involved from 90. And I think we went until 99. And Negla Brandis really headed that.
Yeah.
A pageant that the Caribbean really imitated pretty much, because we were a leader of the pack in terms of what we expected of our young ladies who were a part of it.
Well, Dr. Rose, you have given me so much food for thought. And that part you said about getting education is very much important for our young people. But before you go, I'd like you to give our young people a talk and give them that encouragement. Education is important. Without education, you are nothing. When you get an education, you can be it. Education doesn't matter if you get educated or you get a degree or thing, but just that you get focused in whatever field or whatever career that you would like to pick up in, but just go forward and make it happen. A lot of young people are dropping out of college and they start off good and then they drop out of college. So that is something that to get them back into college.
You know, I would say college is not easy, when you're going for the first time, because you don't have a bell that dictates how you move from one classroom to the next. You know, there's that level of independence, and it's very important to stay focused. And I had a very beautiful experience at the very first college that I attended, Borough of Manhattan Community College. And the funny thing about that was, after I left, I heard I went to a hangout school. I did not have that experience. I really didn't. Now I know that there were, you know, my peers who were going to school and cutting classes because they found other distractions. But you have to be focused as a youth. You really have to be focused. Know what your program is, be steadfast in it, and ask for assistance along the way, because there is a newness that is also involved when a youth is independent and doesn't have teachers telling them not to walk the halls when they should be in school. So and getting up and being on time for your classes, attending and doing your homework and your papers, and making sure that you're keeping up with those deadlines. So it's very important to understand that there is a different sense of purpose that comes with that independence once you become a college student. And I would like to reiterate that success does not, a college degree does not determine success. And success is not determined by a college degree. It really has to do with your focus, because in this day and age, we know of so many individuals who do not have college degrees, but they're very, very intelligent and they've made it. Likewise, we've known of many individuals with college degrees who have not made it.
As
right?
Rihanna said, she was giving money to colleges, but she don't have a college degree. So with her talent, she grew.
Yeah, and
she said, I don't have a college degree.
Yeah.
So there is where that persons or young people could develop themselves, even if they don't have a college degree. You can look at other role models and say, well, I can do it too.
Yep.
Dr. Rose, thank you once again for being on Tots and Teens in Focus. I know you're not a tot or a teen, but you just write your information and your theology and your inspiration on the show will be able to help our young people out there who are struggling to make a decision in their life, and they need some type of support. Yes. And they need some type of you call it a baby pattern to make them a better person. Yep. Once and again,
just before you shut off, I need to say this. If you're not getting the support from your family members, find a teacher, find a mentor, find someone who helps with supporting your dreams and aspirations. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Dr. Rose. That is why we asked you to be woman of great esteem for Tots and Teens, because we know your greatness, we know your career, and we know your voice in the wilderness or your voice in the community, that you make a great difference in our community. Thank you once again for being on, and I do hope I could get you back in, that we could continue this chat.
All right, don't forget Miss Pat. It's been my pleasure, and I really appreciate the opportunity to sit and chat with you today.
Thank you very much. Just made it done in time. All right. That was Tots and Teens in Focus with Dr. Roslyn October, who gave us all the information that we want. I know that you will enjoy it, and share the video and get some knowledge of what you're about to do, because you need that education and you need that support, and you need someone to talk to, and you need someone that you can call up and say, please help me along this line. If you young people out there don't have someone, check if you don't have a teacher that you can talk to, you're not getting support from your family, just get into community organization. They have a lot of people in organization there that can help you up, that you can make a difference in your community. That was Dr. Rose October, and she is Tots and Teens Woman of Great Esteem, because this is Women's Month, And we are proud to have her on as woman of great esteem, Guyanese woman of great esteem, because she's a Guyanese American citizen, Guyanese born American citizen, Guyanese American born citizen of great esteem. And we are proud because when we see our women, our Guyanese women who are doing so much, and she is a doctor, her PhD in her career to help young people, to help older folks who are maybe trying to go back to college like me. So she will be able to help them in their quest for knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. I am your host, Patricia Trim, saying goodbye from Tots and Teens in Focus on Brick Art Media.